Taking Flight, Card Spring Training, sponsored by Woods Basement Systems.
So Mo kind of talked about it today, just terminology for this current path of the St. Louis Cardinals. Transition, reset, whatever you want to use. How do you describe what's going on with the organization right now?
Yeah, I think transition describes it well because there's different things that are taking place at the big league and minor league level that are transitioning into a state of just building something that can be lasting, right? So when you think about the investments that are being made in staff and technology and just overall the process and infrastructure of the minor leagues, there's been a lot of different things added, a lot of change. So that's been a transition for that department. And then how that impacts the big leagues is you'll see certain decisions made where there's a conversation to be had about, is this short term or impact in the long game? And I think it's described by Mo and his group in a way where we want to make sure that these decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis aren't impacting the long term negatively.
You mentioned this today about seeing these investments pay off in the first year. What can people maybe look for? What is something that you've noticed already from this transition that's making an impact?
Yeah, I think part of it, when you look at our pitching, started last year with the development of some of our pitchers and our approach to that. And we saw progress with a lot of our guys. I think when you look at the minor leagues, there's going to be some real changes in the different skill sets that we brought to the table in this offseason of them, the conversations with our big league staff, and just, man, it was impactful. And I think we'll see a lot come from that, not only in the minor leagues, but start to kind of trickle its way into the big leagues as well.
You use the word runway a lot when talking about young guys. How do you see that? Is that more of a, we're going to let guys work through this and figure this out instead of maybe another time they'd be on the bench or they'd be down in the minors? Walk me through that philosophy.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? I think you're constantly looking for the best option today. And there's a bigger conversation to be had where if it's impacting the long game, maybe there is a little bit more of a runway to allow that player to figure it out in real time at the big league level, even though they're struggling. So yeah, there's some give and take there, and I'm looking forward to that balance.
Jordan Walker's one of those young guys. How often does even he have to be reminded? He's 22 years old.
Yeah.
Is that a common thing that happens a lot around here? I mean, there's so much to go.
There is a ton, and sometimes we get kind of caught up in the fact that, oh, he had a down year, whatever the case may be. The reality is he's 22 years old and he's competing at the highest level. And the things that he's trying to make adjustments, and it's hard to do it at the big league level, and he's doing it well. Sometimes it takes a little longer than people expect, but when it clicks, I mean, we have a really, really good player on our hands. So, yeah, I mean, you constantly I have to remind myself that he's 22, and we have to be patient with him.
We talked a lot, of course, today about the news of the day, Nolan's arrival in camp. I'll ask you this, from a motivation perspective, we've seen this guy be one of the fieriest guys around. Adam Wainwright used to talk about finding motivation from anywhere he can. Describe a motivated Arenado heading into this particular situation.
Yeah, he's convicted about having a good year, man. Seeing him walk in today and just being able to greet him and welcome him to camp and sit down in the office and talk to him for a little while and understand kind of where he's at. He's motivated, he's committed. There's a certain determination to how he's even verbalizing some of this that is awesome to hear, man. So I think we're going to see a really, really good version of him. And I'm personally excited to see him walk through the doors. Yeah.
Opportunity is the cliche word of every spring training. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it. From a pitching perspective, from a starting pitching perspective, you look at the names you already have, it seems worked out a lot of the way. Now, it's baseball, so you're always going to need extra guys. How do you see younger guys bringing them up to possibly have an impact on the rotation this season?
Yeah, it depends on injuries and performance and all types of stuff, right? So we've yet to throw the first pitch to an opposition. So we'll see as we get through this kind of if we can remain healthy. But yeah, you do have some guys that have been around in the league like Sonny and Matt and Miles. But it would be good to see some of those younger guys take the ball and have an opportunity to show what they're capable of doing. So We'll kind of see how this pans out, but still too early to kind of start to dictate what this is going to look like. Yeah.
As the manager of this ball club, you hear veterans Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras say they want to be a part of what this organization is doing. Specifically from your perspective, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, it meant a ton. I mean, one, that they want to be here, but also go along for the ride with these young guys and continue to show them what it looks like to be a professional and to do it well and to prepare in a certain way that leads to greatness. So both those guys, the conversations with them have been great. Definitely exciting for when you're a manager, staff member, and then a fan, that these guys are committed to being here.
A couple more for you. Wilson moving to first base. He looks great. He's able to bulk up maybe even more playing first base. How do you see him moving there and the two young guys get an opportunity at the catching position? How does it impact your lineup? What can you maybe do that you couldn't do before with this kind of setup?
Yeah, I think when you look at the catch-up, two things come to mind. One, we wanted to give opportunity to the two young catchers in Herrera and Pages to understand what we have, and at the end of this year, I think we'll have a lot more clarity as to what they can do and what they can't do. But it also allows us to keep one of our best bats healthy by getting Contreras out from behind the plate. So part of it is just figuring out ways to get him in the lineup and keep him healthy through 162.
I've asked the same question 2 years in a row. You've given me the same answer, so I'm going to ask it a little bit differently. You never think about your future. Where does that come from?
As far as my job?
Worried, yes.
I take it literal when the Bible says, do not worry about tomorrow. I mean, there's zero reason to. I can't control it. I fixate more on what I can control, man, and it's making sure I have those guys' back, starting with our staff, our players, making sure I care for them, and that we're cultivating an environment that leads to guys reaching their goals and achieving things that they didn't even think were possible. So when you fixate on those things, you really don't have time for the other nonsense. That's just the reality of it.
Two more. I heard your interview on the radio about interacting with fans. You said you love the argument. Why do you love that?
No, I love
the argument.
Yeah, I love the conversation.
The discussion.
Yeah, because I mean, part of fandom is like you're fanatic about your club, right? So you there's times where you're excited about it, and there's times you're highly frustrated, and I like having that conversation and understanding the rationale behind, all right, well, what have you done, in this situation? What do you think would have happened differently, or what would you have done differently? I don't mind that at all, man. I mean, I think that's part of it. The reality, they're the ones filling up that stadium. So I love that interaction. And my interaction with our fan base live in person has been awesome. Like, I can't, I mean, whether it's me and my wife, my kids, they've been incredible to us, either walking the streets in St. Louis, whatever the case may be, at a restaurant. So I have no complaints there. But as far as having that conversation whenever a fan wants to talk a little ball, I welcome it.